motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Public comments.
And that was just approving of the agenda.
Yes. No public comments? Move along, Mr. Baker.
Let me
Good
introduce
name,
you.
good name.
Mark Baker. This is our board, Aletha Turley. This is Mark Baker. He's
Hi there.
from the insurance agency that's going to speak to us. Natalie May.
Hi there.
Our chairman, Patty Baker.
Yes. Good name.
Jim Cook, water sewer clerk.
Okay.
And Beth Wheeler is also a board member.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
You want me to start off like I did last time?
You have the floor, and I'll just dawdle along.
Poor Denise has to hear this now for the third time. I always just said, turn it over to her.
She can really do it.
Thank you all for letting me come up. Denise asked me to come up because there had been some concerns that she'd had with insurance. I think not the insurance program you have in place, but maybe the agency that you've been able to deal with and not being able to get the service that you expected. So we were referred to her, and I thank the people that referred them. Give you a little bit of background with us. We've been a family-owned insurance agency since 1968, so we just celebrated our 46th year. I tell everybody I'm an SOB. I was the son of the boss. I got to pay him, my parents, so they'd leave and let me run this thing. That was almost 20 years ago, so I've been around this a long time. Municipality business is one of the things we do, and there is a special programs. There are a few special programs for municipalities because the municipality is different than a convenience store or a manufacturer or a retail store. So what we try to do is make sure we get a square peg and a square hole. We make sure we have coverages that are there to protect a municipality, which you are, your tax-based municipality. And there's a few things that are unique to municipalities that other businesses don't have. And one of the first things that comes to mind is a coverage limitation called sovereign immunity. Anybody ever heard of that? If you've ever been on a school board or anything, you know about sovereign immunity. Sovereign immunity goes clear back to King Henry VIII days. It says you couldn't sue your government because you couldn't put your government out of business because there would be no government for the constituents. So back in the 70s, there was the law that said, okay, we're going to have sovereign immunity, but we're going to make that municipality responsible for their actions and cap those things. So if your road grader or your pickup or your dump truck's going down the road, it has responsibilities like an independent contractors would. If it hits somebody, hurts someone, damages property. But we're going to cap that. And that current cap is $326,000 some odd dollars per person and 2.5 something million per accident for a total. If I was a private business, I wish I could buy that because I know how much insurance to buy. Because above that, I'm immune. Okay? I can't do that as a private business, but as a municipality, as a tax-based business, you can. So this policy covers the liability for your general liability. That's the premises and operations of the city, the property they own, the activities that they do. It covers those and your automobile for sovereign immunity. So we can tell you how much to buy because according to the sovereign immunity law, that's all you're responsible for. Your current policy, and this is where I would recommend to put it too, because we are one of the largest writers of this in the state. Your current policy says you got $2 million worth of coverage. Now, if you remember in that comment someplace that is 2.5 is the max, but there's also an endorsement in this policy that says that the limit of coverage will be the limit stated on the policy for sovereign immunity at the time of the claim, the greater than 2. Okay? The reason they have to state that is the legislature sets that sovereign immunity each year. They have been known to do it last week of session, make it retroactive to January. So we don't know what that is when this policy is going to be written. So the endorsement that Alan Clark's people put in there is the endorsement says we're going to match it, whatever it is at the time of the loss. So that way we know how much coverage to buy. Everybody cool with that? Okay. You'll hear a lot of different names in my little short presentation. The actual insurance company that has the money on the line is called Savers Property and Casualty. They're a Meadowbrook company out of Michigan. There is a general agent in Jefferson City called Missouri Rural Services, and that's who you get your bill from. Remember seeing that? Okay. The Missouri Rural Services is he set this program up to write municipalities in the state of Missouri. Walter Clark, which was the founder of the company, who is now run by Alan Clark, another SOB, another son like me. When Walter started, he was the Civil Air Patrol coordinator for the state of Missouri, so he knew somebody in every township, everywhere. Well, when that kind of disbanded, and the Russians weren't going to come over and bomb us anymore, they disbanded the Civil Air Patrol. He started this little company called Missouri Rural Roads, and Missouri Rural Roads was selling grader chains, culvert tubes, street signs, those kind of things. So he's out there trying to sell things to all these people he knows. And they said, well, we need insurance, because remember I said before then you didn't buy insurance because there was no need for it. So he set this little program up. And then he got the insurance company to back it. He was an agency like us. But then he found out he couldn't be in Jameson and Joplin and Saxton and all those same time. So he works with retailers like me. He's a wholesaler, I'm a retailer. That kind of cleared up some of this. Okay. So with the association that we've had between Walter and my father and Alan and I, the different generations, there's about 3 agencies in the whole state that write about 80% of municipality business. We're one of those 3. I do a lot of these kind of meetings. So when Denise asked me to come up and talk about this plan, this is a very good plan. This is where I'd put you. But I don't think you've got the service between your old agent selling and being handled either out of Trenton or Rockport or wherever. So this thing comes up, and I told Denise I'd work with her on the renewal. I think all we need is a projected budget now. And we need to talk about the standpipe, whether it's something you want to insure or not, because I understand the water district's taking that over.
The water system, but not the standpipe.
I have it posted.
Beautiful. So anyway, your policy is not a bad policy, but there's a couple things, recommendations I want to make on this. And when we get all done, I'm going to ask you to do to sign what's called an agent of record. That agent of record allows me to be your agent for this policy, so that when you all have questions or need somebody to come up, I'm just a hop, skip, and jump away, and I'd come up at any time, because the last 2 times I've been here, it's been cold and snowy.
We're trying.
Yeah. So it allows me to actually work on this policy, because this is not my policy at this point. But when you sign that form, then it tells the company that you don't want the old the frost agency, which is now
they're now Midland Insurance out of Rockport.
And when I talked with Alan, I said, I thought this old Midland, I said, what's the pro part of this? He says he doesn't know. They're working on both ends.
Yeah.
And even the wholesaler doesn't know who the agent is. I have Alan on my speed dial on my phone. I have his home number. I mean, we're personal friends. If I have problems, if you guys have problems, I can take care of it because of the relationship we have with the company. So
So,
go ahead.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when we do this assignment of agent, you're actually going to administer that same policy we have because it's not up yet? Or you're going to write us a new policy?
Starting 3/1, when this policy renews, I'll be your agent.
Yeah, it expires.
Expires March 1st.
Which is
Okay?
Okay.
Which is in a couple weeks.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm gonna make some suggestions to you to
Right.
change effective 3/1.
Okay.
Okay? Now, it's your all's money, so y'all do what you think is best with it, but it's my job to educate you on what's available. The liability is where it needs to be because we know what to buy, right? The property, the main thing I think we saw was the standpipe and whether we need to do anything with that.
right. And I wasn't sure what the status was on the standpipe.
So is the standpipe something we need to keep insured?
What's going to happen with the standpipe at this point?
Well, they're only going to fund taking it down if there's money left after the project. Of course, it hadn't been bid yet, so we don't know.
We don't know.
By March 1, I'd say we need to insure it.
Okay, well, my other question is, if they're taking over the water system, that's a part of the water system.
It's not
Okay,
connected
that's
to the
what I'm
water
asking.
system.
Okay. My
All right,
question
that's
is,
all I wanted to know.
Still
If-
our responsibility.
if when-
Because it's
Okay.
disconnected.
if the wind blew it over, would anybody care?
No.
Well, the people whose homes it shook
If it didn't hurt anything?
might jar their water lines and break them
Because the
out.
liability's covered for that.
Okay.
If there's a negligent cause of the loss, under liability is covered. But the structure itself, Do you all wish to insure that structure?
Not the damage it would do if it fell, but the structure
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, there's, I don't see any reason to.
No, but if it falls on the cook shack or the bathrooms
Yeah.
at the restaurant.
Which we have coverage for that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Just wanted to be
under
sure.
our liability.
Mhm.
Now, I want to make sure everybody's clear on this. Liability says that, I just went through this with a bank today. Y'all have to understand, and if you don't understand, ask questions, okay? When you transfer your responsibility, or the risk that something happens, and you transfer that to an insurance company, you're paying them money and you're putting their $2 million on the line, right? Via premium. The responsibility of the insurance company is to say, we're going to pay for the city's negligence. So we're going to pay for something you didn't do right. I pay for claims every day for stupidity. It happens. I got mad at my dad one time. I said, no, we pay for accidents. He says, Mark, because you didn't see the stop sign and hit a car, was that an accident?
Yeah.
No, that's pretty stupid of me, right? It happens. I'll never forget, he got a brand new car and he was gone. I went to the dealership, picked it up, and I'm driving around town, looking at it, blinking knobs. All of a sudden, I look up, the car stopped right in front of me. First time I had an anti-lock brakes, hit those brakes, and went like this. I go, that would have been stupid, wouldn't it, have that, to run into that. I didn't watch. It wasn't like a tree that didn't have any problem fell on me.
Right.
Okay? So there's very few true accidents. Most of it's stupidity, inattention, or whatever you want to call it. So if there's something that happened because of negligence, somebody slips and falls on the sidewalk, the park swing is broke, and we didn't fix it, we knew about it, that's a negligent act because we didn't take care as a prudent person would have to fix it. So then the insurance company is going to pay for the resulting damage from the person's injuries or property damage. Okay?
And that's a 386 per incident and 2.5 per
Yes.
individual
Right.
incident.
If the insurance company doesn't feel that there was negligence upon the city, and the other people, the injured party, thought there was negligence, and we go to court, the insurance company defends you all because it's their $3 million on the line, right? If a court says, guess what, we think you owe it to them, the insurance company's going to pay it. So not only are you going to pay something that you readily know that you're responsible for, but we're also going to defend you on things that we don't think we're responsible for. Until the court would tell us different, if they would. That makes sense? So, the water tower. If the standpipe is unsafe, and we know it, and it falls and hurts somebody, we're going to have a liability claim. If a tornado comes through and blows that over, how could we have known that? So whatever it does damage to, that person should have wind insurance to take care of their damages. Are we clear?
And that's liability.
Yes. Now, if we know that thing is bad, the bolts are rotten, rusted, it needs to come down, and we don't take care of it and it injures somebody, we've got insurance for it. If it's a true act of God that there was no way you could predict this happening, then no one's responsible for it. And I hate to use those terms, but that's the only way I can use them. Is that clear to everybody?
I mean, if someone was injured by it, they're just SOL.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because who was responsible for that? You're not going to sue God. We weren't responsible because there wasn't a negligent act. The city, okay? And if it blows on the house should have any kind of property insurance, wins the second line of coverage, so it should have coverage for that. So under this situation, if you don't care about the value of the standpipe and you're going to take it down anyway, I probably wouldn't buy the insurance on it. Because we have liability, somebody climbs on it and gets hurt or whatever.
What we're really discussing is if we wanted to replace it, then we would insure it. But we're never going to use it again, so.
And if y'all ever get the water system back, or you put up a standpipe or a water tower, or we gotta do that, it can be done any time. Because what we do today isn't set in stone. Okay?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got antique playground equipment up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
Antique,
old.
I like that.
Well, it's old.
That was a nice way to put it.
It's
Vintage.
old. I just wondered if the insurance would cover that.
Sure, it covers it.
Okay.
You know, it's the metal slides, and there's no rubberized stuff down below.
It is maintained. It's not.
Now,
It's
if
not
that
totally-
metal slide gets a cut in it, and you know it, and you don't go repair it, somebody gets hurt, then we're paying claims. I kind of got to talk out both sides of my mouth, because if we have a problem, and we know it, we're paying it. Now, we don't want to do that, nor do you want that experience. But if you don't fix it, we're paying the claim. If you fix it, or it happened and no one told you about it yet, and you hadn't had time to check on a reasonable time to look at it, then the insurance company's going to probably say, well, let's go take it to court and see if we're really responsible. See what the court says. But we're paying for your defense. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thanks. So the next thing on here, I don't remember. We have automobile. Don't we have a pickup or something?
No, we have, we have the tractor and the backhoe.
Tractor and backhoe.
That's the fire department that has the trucks.
Okay.
Tractor and backhoe.
Well, we have hired non-owned auto, didn't we? We have hired non-owned auto, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The backhoe. Let's talk about that a second. The backhoe itself, the physical damage to the backhoe, give me what I search here for. A tractor with a backhoe valued at $7,500 and an '89 Deutz Allis tractor with a New Holland mower. Does that sound right? Okay. One thing I told Denise the other day is, this is a settlement, is an actual cash value policy, just like your car insurance. The insurance company's responsibility is to replace or repair with like kind. So annually, like when this policy renews, those values need to be looked at, because we could have put $2,000 worth of tires on that tractor, right? Up the value, or put a new engine in, or we may not have done anything and it's only worth $5,000. So I need help from this board to determine what the value is when we write this policy, what a fair replacement value is. And I say fair because you know that depends on whether you're buying or selling, right? You have to think about it. If something happened to this, what could we replace it for? Not as some sale where you got a really good deal. What would average retail sales be? So that's something you all need to kind of think about and get back with me on that.
By next week, because, right?
Yes. We have $7,500 on the backhoe and $11,000 on the tractor with the mower.
That's James.
And that's with the mower too.
Yes, ma'am. Tractor and mower. Right. And then the rate is accordingly based on the value of those equipment. Now the liability for that is covered under the general liability. Remember I said we cover premises and operations. This would be an operation of the city. So this would be if that thing throws a rock and hits a car, runs over a telephone pedestal. I don't know if you've ever done that. I have.
Just about.
Those type of things. If there's something that's damaged due to a negligent act, then that would be a negligent act of mine because I wasn't paying attention when I ran over with my batwing mower. I ran over that little telephone junction box that was out there that was covered in weeds this tall, but yet I should have seen it. So that is covered in your liability. Okay, the local motion and the usage of non-licensable type equipment is covered under your general liability. Okay. Now I mentioned we had auto, and Denise said we don't have any trucks.
I told you that.
That's what she said. We don't have any trucks, didn't you?
I did say that. We don't have any trucks. But come to
But-
find out we do.
But no, you still have a
No, we
need.
did.
You still have a need for liability, automobile liability coverage, and it's called. And I'm going to run these really quick, so stop me. There's two lines of coverage. One is called non-owned, the other is called hired automobile. And I'm going to tell you non-owned and hired, but that's still two lines of coverage. It's two different things. If the city would hire a truck, you'll rent a truck to get a new piece of swing set to take care of your antique vintage swing set, and you rent a truck from the neighbor or U-Haul or whatever, the liability is already covered. Okay? That's an example of hired auto. A non-owned auto is the one that's more prevalent, and that is where someone would be running an errand for the city in their own personal vehicle. I said I was at a bank this afternoon, and usually my example is somebody's taking a deposit at the bank. I can't use that at the bank, can I? So the banker says, what about if we go in the post office? I said, bingo. So if someone's on an errand for the city in their own personal vehicle, and listen to me really careful here, the liability, the primary liability follows the vehicle. So if Denise is driving her car to the post office, to the bank, to Gallatin to get something or whatever, okay, get supplies for the office, whatever. Her automobile insurance is primary. So if she runs a stop sign, hits somebody, that's her car insurance. Now, what can happen is the injured party, me in this example, would say, well, why was Denise in Gallatin in her car on the city business? So I'm saying, I can maybe get more money if I go after the city of Jameson. So this covers the city, not Denise in this example, the city for defense cost. So someone's got to write that letter that says, how are we negligent in her running the stop sign? But if it would come back and the court would say you shouldn't have let her drive, the weather was bad, or you knew she had a bad driving record, or something like that, and we think you're responsible, then it's going to pay up to the sovereign union rates. And that's a whole $59 a year. You definitely need that, because I don't know any business that someone doesn't use their personal vehicle for other people.
We do a lot. Jan does water, and Jim does water.
You understand what I said, Jan, about your vehicle's primary? For you, but this protects the city.
Sure.
Okay? So that's why an automobile coverage is on here.
So if we paid the mileage, is that hired?
Mm-hmm.
And then the first,
still covered.
and the first wouldn't be on them?
That first is still on them, either way.
I thought non-hired
Hired picks up your,
liability.
for the city. Whether you reimburse them, pay them, whatever, and the first line of defense is with the automobile coverage of the car.
That's for the non-hired.
It's for also for hired vehicle. If you're reimbursing her for mileage, then her vehicle, because it's titled to her.
So I thought you were making this distinction between hired and non-hired, and now there's no distinction.
There's two types of
Two lines of
coverage.
insurance, but the rules are the
The
same.
rules are the same.
Thank you. I knew you said there were two kinds, but I didn't get the rules were the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Okay, the other thing in here, which I think is most important and probably has the biggest deficit of coverage, is, y'all heard directors and officers? Okay, now you're a city official, so we're going to call you a public official, but the terminologies are different, but the coverages are the same. This is the one time that the word liability is used where there's not a negligent act. Because it says public officials, errors, and omissions, and then somewhere it talks about limits of liability. Okay? This covers actions that this board makes, decisions the boards make that someone doesn't like. You change the park hours, you decide to get rid of the swing set, you make a one-way street. Did anybody get hurt out of this? No, someone may not like it. So they sue the board, they sue the public officials. You have 300, there's no cap on this, okay? There's no sovereign immunity to this. You currently have the minimum amount of coverage that this company offers, and that's $300,000. That $300,000 is to cover a claim, whether it be individual, business, or joint and several. You know what I mean by joint and several? They name the city and each one of the board members, or the board member that voted against it, or the board member that brought up the change. Okay? So there's $300,000 to be split. However, that pie needs to be split. If there's not enough coverage, it's got to come from somebody else, because that's all the insurance company has. Now, for a few bucks, and I want to get you a quote so y'all can decide, for a few dollars more, we can up that to $1 million. Then there's a bigger piece of pie, and we have to split it. That makes sense? Okay. I'll also tell you that the vast majority of these claims are nuisance claims, and they're defense only, because there's nobody hurt. But what's it cost to defend it? Pretty cheap retainer fee to hire an attorney who knows that policy, knows the language of that, knows what it does when it goes to court, to have them defend their $1 million. Okay? So like I can see, that's one place I need to give you an optional quote and let y'all decide if you want to take the increase or not.
Okay, so just to review, that the money, the 300 or the million or whatever it is only for court costs. It's not for.
No, it's also for settlement.
Okay, okay,
But the majority of the claims end up being
right,
a letter from an attorney says go away.
right.
You know, because there's, I see them on townships all the time because they decide to gravel your road instead of my road because so-and-so on the trustee of the township I went to school with.
Yeah. But there's no limit on what, I mean, the court says it's gonna cost everybody $1 million in fines.
There's no cap, no sovereign immunity on it.
Right, so that's the point, is it?
Right.
Okay. That's my point.
Right. Courts tend to look at the financial ability of the person to pay. Now, we can't put you out of business, so they say, well, we can take money from now until forever on toward the settlement. They also look to see if the insured has bought an adequate amount of coverage. If you have, because you can get sued sometimes because you don't do the right things. You could, I'm not saying this would happen, but you might, if you had a suit come through here and you had $1 million judgment against you, had $300,000 worth of insurance, one of your constituents could come back and sue you for not buying $1 million worth of coverage that you had no option to, because of a decision that was made. Does that make sense? I'm kind of talking around, but it
I understand
happens.
what you're saying. I don't think it makes sense for someone who doesn't want us to spend money to sue us for not spending enough money, but I understand. Yes.
Right. So I think it's the decision that y'all need to make as a board, and you can't do that until I tell you what the price is. Okay? That's why we're going to do this agent record. That way I can get you that optional quote, and then we all go forward. Okay? So and then you got that's your basic package policy, and it's due March 1st.
We
I'm
have the Missouri
Saturday.
employees.
I'm sorry.
We have the Missouri employees, but that's due.
Missouri Employees Mutual is July 1, I think.
Is it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in June.
And that's workers' comp. Let me just tell you about it real quick here.
And then we have the bonds.
Right, which we can, the bonds, the same company we deal with. I was on the Agent Advisory Council from them for 4 years. Know all the upper echelon personally. One of their largest agents in Missouri. MIM's a great company, Missouri Employers Mutual. It's a place to have your workers' comp, and it's a statute coverage. So the coverages are all the same no matter what work comp policy you buy. It's who's going to service me, how they're going to take care of my injured party, what they're going to charge me for premiums. The premiums are pretty much, all the top ones you say about 10% plus or minus, so they're very competitive. They're the single largest writer of work comp in the state of Missouri because that's all they do. But I'll tell you, you will not get any better service if you have an injured party, an injured employee. And they're also the hardest to fight for a claim that's not legitimate too. We had one time, a guy had 13 Hardys we had insured. This gal calls my office and talks to my claims person and says, hey, I need to know when I get my disability check. Well, she looks at me, she said, what are you talking about? I said, we had a work comp claim. They want to know when they're going to get their check because they can't go to work. It was funny. She, and hung up. And I said, what's the matter? She says, well, she had to go finish push mowing her yard because it was about to rain. Yeah, she couldn't flip burgers and drop french fries, but we could handle it. So this company has the most fraud investigation and the most denials because of fraud. And they do things to help with cost containment. They have nurse practitioners that travel. And if you're your employee's supposed to be home at rest, they make sure they do those things. Now they can't catch them all, but they're the most aggressive at it. And the deal is, if that person's injured, we want to get them fixed, get them back to work, because you're not just paying them because you like them, you're paying them because you need them, right? So we want to get them fixed and get them back to work. So that's the place to be for that. And we'll handle that. We'll handle your bonds, everything.
You didn't tell them about the communities.
On communities. When remember that SOB I talked about? When Walter Clark, his original company was called Casualty Indemnity Exchange. It was a little Jeff City company. And the guy's name was Walter Furley that owned it. Walter was a very successful German businessman in Jeff City. And he was about 70